And we're taking a look at a pretty cool piece of U.S. military history, and something I was pretty happy to get my hands on finally. This is something I've liked ever since I was a kid, watching the movies from Vietnam, and um, you know, appreciating the gear that they had to deal with in those jungles and whatnot. And this is a M-203, so it's basically a personal rocket launcher designed for taking out, vehicles or maybe a building or something that needed a little bit more firepower than just sidearm. Maybe a boat, and again, there's all kinds of uses. Everybody's seen the movies from Vietnam. Not too much to it. It's pretty easy to use. I don't think it's all going to fit in this video frame the way I'm doing it here on the tabletop, but what you do, there's a manual somewhere. You can probably find that online real easily. You just grab hold of it in two places, up here and back here. And then as I start to pull apart, first thing that happens is the sights pop into place. And of course I'd be doing this in one quick motion, but I'm kind of doing it in stages here. And then I have to give it a little tug. Actually, I have to get a little momentum going. Now it's snapped into place, and that's caught the firing mechanism, and I believe it does something internally to get the rocket ready to go. So you can sort of see here that it says pull the pin. Mine's busted, so the pin was already pulled on it. Pull the pin to remove the rear cover. Great. Pull open, which I just did sort of slow. And then it says 4, release safety, 5, aim, and then 6, squeeze to fire. So we're gonna, number 4, release the safety. And you can see here it says when it's in, it's safe, and when it's out, it's armed. So now I've released the safety on the M203. Now, just to pass any concerns, the only thing in here is this little plastic thing. There's nothing in it. It's an empty tube. Normally there'd be a rocket in here that could basically take out a tank or something, so we definitely want to make sure it's empty before we pull the trigger. Then it says aim. Now this one is not complete. There should be a sort of a piece of plastic in here with some basically some red lines that help you aim the thing. There's a peep sight in back, and you would get that piece of plastic out of the way. You would use the rear sight peep and these lines up front to sort of lob this thing. It came out pretty fast, but it was not a rocket propelled thing. It was kind of slow. You could watch it happen. So anyway, you sort of lob the thing out wherever you're shooting, and that's the sights. So that was the aim, number 5, and now we're at squeeze to fire. And you can see, or you've ever watched a movie before, you put this over your shoulder, you've got your head right about here, looking through there, and your hand is up here, kind of around the whole deal, with this big fat rubberized trigger. And once you've got it aimed, point at your rocket in a safe direction. That was it firing. And I think that would have shot a primer or something that would have launched the first stage of the rocket or something. I forget all the internal stuff. Now this one has some markings still left on it. Obviously this one is inert. This is not a controllable thing because it was only designed to shoot once and then be destroyed or be worthless. It can't fire again. So this is just something that the Army would throw away. This says danger rear blast area. So that's, in the movies where it shoots out behind the guy all the time, or sometimes they ignore that. And then up here it says something faint about the lot number and all that. So some military markings are still on it, but the one that's the largest is this M190. And at first I didn't know what that was, and went onto the internet and found out that this is one that was designated to be used for training, so it would have an insert put into it. And this M190 designation just meant that this tube shouldn't be thrown away. It should be kept in the training inventory so that they could put that insert into it. And I'm pretty sure that's the type that we all fired in basic. If we use these, we start that little smaller diameter one, and it would kind of launch out and give us the manual of arms, but it was no fun because it was just a little chalk projectile or something that kind of went out about 10 feet and dropped in the sand. So anyway, this is a training version, but for all practical purposes it's still a law. You can put it together again by, let's see, you just put down the sights, and there was something, up front here, as I start to close it after it's been fired, I push down on this rubber thing. and I push down on that rubber thing and it starts to close, and the back end's coming, but you'll see that in the front there this little door starts to close, so you have to flip down your front sight first so that that door closes over the front sight, keeps it protected and folded. And then in the back I have to fold down the rear sight, and it's going to go into this little aluminum box. And then I'm pushing it forward and it's closing that door. It's covering the sight, and eventually it clicks into place. The sight is completely covered by this back little section. The safety has gone back to being in the safe position. There's nothing going on there, and then this little door is closed over the front sight. Now if I had all the original stuff, these little plastic things covered it to keep the rocket protected, but anyway, this is one I was happy to get. I found it at Omega Weapon Systems. You can find them online, omegaweaponsystems.com, with dashes in between the words, or follow the link in our stuff. But anyway, this is a pretty neat piece of history, and you know, it looks good anytime you're taking pictures of an AR-15 or even a 1911 or something, sort of a Vietnam era military piece of history.